The 2020 Toyota GR Supra is finally here, and for this occasion, Toyota invited me and a bunch of other YouTubers and journalists out to Summit Point Motorsports Park so we could share with you what we truly think about this car. In a nutshell, this 2020 GR Racing Supra is at best a worthy successor to the Mark IV Supra, and in the least, it's a roided out 86. After driving many laps around the Shenandoah circuit and surrounding public roads, I can safely say that the hype is real. And the haters, well, they have it wrong. Don't let the size fool you. While it may have the same overall length as the 86, beneath the skin, it's literally a bigger and better brother. It may weigh nearly 600 pounds more, but it has 50% more cylinders, 50% more displacement, it has a single twin-scroll turbo, a more advanced electronic LSD, a lower center of gravity, a 3-inch wider track up front and 2-inch wider in the rear, while somehow losing 4 inches in its wheelbase. And it also wears a total of 200mm more tire width. That's almost like adding a 5th tire to the base 86. And perhaps best of all, it has a bark that matches its bite. The Supra is proof that Toyota have listened to everyone's complaints about the 86, or the Scion FRS as previously known.
This basically solves all the problems that the 86 had. It doesn't have that torque dip, it has so much more grip, it has so much more power. This is basically a monster 86.
This lightweight 2+2 may have sweet balanced handling and a driftable attitude, but it gets easily walked by minivans and Camrys on a straight line performance. I know this because I owned an autocross's Subaru BRZ, its identical twin, for a whole year. I've owned it through the bad times and the good times. So trust me when I say that Toyota have been listening to their customers, and they finally responded. And that response is a loud one. The biggest problem with this car is, of course, the name. No nameplate revival in automotive history have generated this much negativity and utter hatred. Eclipse Cross. And all this hate mostly stems from the fact that the Supra chassis was co-developed with BMW's Z4. This fact isn't really hidden, as you can find stickers and part numbers that say BMW or Magnasteyr, which is the factory that makes the Supra and the Z4 located in Austria. It also doesn't help that it comes in an automatic transmission only. More on that later. Therefore, giving this corporate collaboration the Supra nameplate, a name that hasn't been available for sale in the US for the past 21 years, well, that's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of hardcore fans. And I'm willing to bet that in the comment section of any Supra video, including this one, there are comedians leaving comments like, "It's a hardtop Z4," or "Does this one come with turn indicators?" To quickly dismiss the new Supra as simply a BMW parts bin car takes away from the amount of work, the engineering, and all the testing that went into it. The story alone of the collaboration between BMW and Toyota itself is worthy of a book. But before I talk about any of that, let's discuss how this new Toyota GR Racing Supra actually drives.
I am now very happily sitting in the Toyota Supra, the GR Supra, 335 horsepower, 365 pound-feet of torque! Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo! Oh man, 0 to 64.1 seconds, and you really feel it. This thing is a beast.
The Supra makes the 86 feel like a bicycle with training wheels. You'll have fun with the 86, and it's the perfect car to learn car control. But once you jump into the Supra, you'll feel what it's like when the training wheels come off. It's more technical, and it's absolutely way more fun. This is the quickest production car Toyota ever made. This is a major improvement over the Mark IV Supra, and that's thanks to the direct injection, the single twin-scroll turbo, and peak torque that comes on at 1600 RPMs and stays flat all the way up to 4500. At stock levels, this closed deck aluminum block puts the cast iron 2JZ GTE to shame. Again, that's at stock levels. Of course, the 2JZ is way over-engineered, so time will tell whether the B58 BMW engine will have the same aftermarket potential. Driving the GR Supra through these technical curves, planting your foot on the gas on corner exit, felt like popping a big water balloon. There was no perceptible turbo lag thanks to the twin-scroll design. Corner exits and long straights, this is where the Supra feels so very different than the 8.6. This is where the 8.6 relies on ballsy driving. You need to carry as much speed and momentum as you can because you're limited by the motor. The Supra, on the other hand, it seems like it has an unlimited potential for creating speed. Putting that power down to the tarmac is done via a set of Michelin Pilot Super Sports, 255 in the front and 275 in the back. This, of course, isn't Michelin's latest tire, which is the Pilot Sport 4S. Apparently, the reason why Toyota engineers stuck with the Pilot Super Sports is because they were already going through suspension tuning when the Pilot Sport 4S became available. They also said that they preferred the Pilot Super Sports dry grip performance over the PS4S's. So, they stuck with the Pilot Super Sports. The Supra's handling is further enhanced by the wheel and suspension design. The Supra runs a staggered setup of 19x9 and 19x10 inch forged aluminum wheels. This is a very lightweight setup for the size because each front wheel only weighs 23.3 pounds and the rears are only 24.6 pounds each. There are lighter weight wheels out there, but these are pretty damn good. The rest of the handling hardware is straight off of a proper sports car checklist. Double joint McPherson strut up front and a multi-link geometry in the rear. Adaptive dampers on all four corners. On top of that, every Supra will have an active differential. It's not a torque vectoring kind, but it is able to lock the LSD between 0 to 100%. All of this means simply is that you'll have plenty of grip during acceleration and braking through a corner. And this really shows at the tight Shenandoah circuit of Summit Point Motorsports Park. Laying down the hammer upon corner exits was met with gobs of traction. I was able to drive the Supra and the 86 TRD Special Edition back to back. This Special Edition has Sachs dampers, meaty Pilot Sport 4S's, and a glorious exhaust. And I can safely say that in the turns, both cars felt evenly matched. The 600-pound advantage of the 86 really shines, while the clever trick diff and the wider tires of the Supra gave me plenty of traction. During certain points, my inner Colin Chapman actually preferred the balanced 86. On the straights, however, the Supra's more than 200 pound-feet of low-end torque absolutely destroyed the 86. It is quite sad that the only mode of transmission available is the 8-speed automatic. I won't debate with you how truly upsetting this is, but the only saving grace is that they've chosen the best automatic transmission available on the market, the ZF 8-speed. There's currently a very long list of automakers that have decided to go in the same direction. ZF made these modular 8-speed transmissions that can support torque ranges from 220 pound-feet of torque all the way up to 737 pound-feet of torque. Think Hellcat Red-Eye levels of torque. Most importantly, this transmission changes gears lightning quick. On the racetrack, it was able to bang through upshifts very quickly. And when it came to drastic corner entries, the logic was able to aggressively downshift to the proper gear, always putting me in the right power band. No perfect heel towing necessary, this transmission makes you look and sound like a hero. There's also paddle shifters, but I'll admit that the computer will do a much better job at shifting than I ever will 99% of the time. But when you do drive around town, you'll be glad you have them, because you can do this.
At some point.
Hey, there's another Supra!
It's another Supra! Look at that!
What's up, guys?
It's the Albon guys. So let's do something a little crazy here. And beat them!
That crackle is intoxicating. It's gonna happen every time you're in sport mode and when you lightly lift off the pedal. You'll attract lots of attention driving through town because the active exhaust system is downright rowdy. Every hard acceleration is treated with a brutal snort, and every time you lift, you're treated with machine gun fire. that gets old, you can always turn off sport mode, which will also take you to a more sedate driving profile for the adaptive dampers, the steering, and the transmission shift points. As for looks, I'm not going to belabor this video with what I think of the Supra's looks. You can make that conclusion for yourself. I will just say that the Supra's dimensions are deceiving. It can look very small and very wide at the same time. And looking at these wheelbase and track width dimensions, it's hard to believe that it's able to wear 275mm wide tires in the back. I can tell you that it's very hard to tell the similarities between the Supra and the new Z4. And this is probably the right time to start the second part of this video, how the haters have it all wrong. Like I said earlier, to quickly dismiss the Supra as a BMW Z4 clone or a BMW parts bin car really shortchanges the amount of engineering effort and all the testing that went into building this Mark IV successor. This isn't the same as the 86 FRS or BRZ collaboration with Subaru, or any form of badge engineering in the past, where each company ended up with more or less identical cars to add to their lineup. Each of these cars were designed for a different purpose and a common goal: to take on Porsche. BMW wanted to build a roadster to take on the Porsche Boxster, and Toyota wanted to build a purebred sports car to take on the Porsche Cayman. To achieve this, the platform was co-developed by both Toyota and BMW. Both parties had significant input on the overall design hardpoints and packaging. Once BMW and Toyota agreed on a platform, they went their separate ways and didn't even talk to each other for years. Therefore, things like body design, steering, suspension, and engine tuning are all uniquely different. The Toyota team and its master drivers spent over 5 years tweaking and tuning these different parameters so it can become a worthy successor to the Mark IV. Just within the past year, both Toyota and BMW engineers invited each other to drive each other's cars. And in the end, they all agreed that they are uniquely different cars. It's actually short of a miracle that a car like the Supra can still be developed and produced. The business case for building a sports car gets worse and worse as the industry marches toward more crossovers and more boring cars. This clearly wasn't a car that Toyota needed to make. It was one they wanted to make. If they brought the Supra back without any collaboration, requiring them to engineer and retool their factories to produce their own straight six, it would have pushed the price tag of the Supra to over $100,000, as opposed to the current starting price of $50,000. They would have priced themselves out of the attainable sports car market. So before you complain how the Mark IV successor is a BMW in Toyota clothing, just be thankful that Toyota didn't bring back the Supra in the form of a hybrid crossover, potentially called a Supra Cross. It certainly would have been much easier and much more profitable that way. Instead, the automotive world is graced with a budget Cayman S fighter. And that's not bad at all.